As an 80s baby, when it came to video game characters that were prominent in my lifetime, none featured more than Mario from the Super Mario Bros. From the original Super Mario Bros. Game on the Nintendo Entertainment System to one of my all-time favorite games in Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. Mario was usually the first thing that came to mind when it came to video games. Now, it was on the Super Nintendo that I came into Mario's other foray in gaming that did not involve side-scrolling platforms. Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo was a different ballgame. Yes, there had been a host of racing games including F-Zero and so on, but seeing Mario in a racing game was curiously engaging to me. Now, I've done a video on Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. It's one of my earliest videos in fact, so please do go check that out. There have been many different versions of Mario Kart over the years on different Nintendo systems, but the focus of today is Mario Kart Wii on the Nintendowii. So it was the year 2008, and it was a battle of the two high-def machines in the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, whilst on the other side of the fence was the Nintendo Wii. Graphically and technically inferior to its HD rivals, but amazingly was selling more units. The whole concept of the Wii was innovation. Instead of sticking to the tried and trusted, Nintendo went in a completely new and different direction, using motion sensing technology, completely reinvented how gamers would play video games. The Wii Remote was the primary peripheral device used for players to interact with its games. To take advantage of this feature, Nintendo created other peripheral devices to be used instead of just the Wii Remote. One of those was the Wii Wheel, which was tailor-made for the Wii version of Mario Kart. Instead of using the standard controller like we did on previous console platforms, the game made use of a new style of playing by incorporating the Wii Remote with the Wii Wheel to simulate playing an arcade racer. Now, you could still use the Wii Remote on its own, however using the wheel makes for a better playing experience. It was so much fun to play Mario Kart in this fashion, using the side buttons to shoot your weapons to your opponents to gain an advantage and try to win the race. Now, that is just my first thoughts on the game, but how about we have a look at the ins and the outs? Well, the game was released on the Wii on April 2008 to all regions: Japan, Australasia, Europe and North America. At the time, it was the 6th installment in the Mario Kart series. This game had up to 32 different tracks with a roster of 24 characters, the second largest roster in the series, just behind Mario Kart 8. Each character had their own physical attributes, from speed to strength and what have you. There was 8 different cups divided into 2 main categories: the Nitro Grand Prix and the Retro Grand Prix. The Nitro Grand Prix contained the Mushroom, Flower, Star and Special Cups with 16 new tracks made specifically for the Wii version. The Retro Grand Prix, as you've deduced, is based on 16 tracks from previous versions of the game, but given a graphical enhancement. There are single player and local multiplayer options. The single player multi-game modes comprise of Grand Prix, Time Trials, Versus, and Battle. The local multiplayer is for Versus and Battle modes, whether this is competing with other players in Grand Prix style or Battle mode for just 2 to 4 players. The real fun for the game is on online mode. It could support up to 12 players, with up to 2 players being able to connect and play from the same Wii console. Players could also compete against other players online who were based in the same region or any other continent. Now, depending on how the internet connections held up, these experiences were either a lot of fun or very frustrating due to some lag in some of the regions. But given the evolution in gaming technology and online gameplay, this was a huge milestone, having up to 12 players in different corners of the world playing Mario Kart. The use of the Wii Wheel and these online features made Mario Kart a very fun game to play. In terms of its reception, it was lauded with plenty of favourable reviews. Reviewers deemed the gameplay to be familiar and more safe and predictable than that of Mario Kart Double Dash. The variety in the roster selection was generally praised. Official Nintendo magazine commented that the Wii Wheel worked very effectively and loved the different multiplayer modes. One thing that you do tend to notice is the graphics. As the Wii was not an HD console, it is very noticeable in terms of the output with its 480p display. Playing it back now, given all the HD, 720, 1080 and 4K displays, it can be quite jarring. There is an HD adapter that can enhance the visuals to a degree, but still not quite the same. Mario Kart 8 on the Nintendo Switch will give you that much better HD display. As far as difficulty goes, this is where I would be showing my limitations. I usually do not go higher than 100cc, but every now and again I would use the 150cc and get absolutely slaughtered, barely making it into 4th position. So I just played it safe, with 50 to 100cc. The game, as I mentioned earlier, is much fun with players online, and around that time of 2008, 2009, I would game online with my friends, and it was actually quite a fun experience. I usually ended up scraping into 3rd or 4th spot. The competition was intense and insane. I do have to say though that I was not quite a big fan of the 4-way split screen. I felt it was a bit jarring at times, having to focus on your little square on the TV. The game can be played without the Wii wheel, which I tried after years of not playing the Wii, and it kind of felt weird, having to use the Wii remote like a steering wheel without the Wii wheel. It just didn't feel quite right. You are best off playing the game with the Wii wheel, so there's a little tip for you. The level stages are very nicely designed and can be distracting in a nice way at times. Amongst my favourite race tracks are Cooper Cape, Coconut Mall, and Moonview Highway. And my least faves, Moo Moo Meadows, which is quite a bumpy track, not to mention driving on the mud surface, which just slows you down, and having to make all those sharp turns at the corners. It's just annoyingly treacherous. Not a fun stage in my opinion. Rainbow Road, well, it doesn't matter if it's this game, the original SNES Mario Kart game, or what have you, but it is never a fun stage for me whatsoever. I just hate anything Rainbow Road. The character selection of 24 is a very good mix of speedy and reliable veterans along with daring newbies. My favourite character is Toad. His main asset? Well, that's pretty straightforward. His speed. I have won many a race with him as my character, but as he is small, he can be quite easy to knock off to one side, so that is something I usually have to contend with. Koopa Troopa is another regular favourite of mine. Like Toad, his speed is his greatest asset. Not quite as fast, but he's still very reliable. Others, like the Mario brothers, are in that mid-range where they're not too fast, not too strong, but they're just middle of the road. If you want power, then that is where Bowser and Donkey Kong come in. Although, don't expect a lot of speed with those guys. There are 36 vehicles in total shared amongst the 24 characters, with 18 carts and 18 bikes. They all have their pluses and minuses. I find the bikes can be faster but trickier to control, especially when it comes to turns. I tend to lean towards the carts, especially for Toad or Koopa Troopa, and the baby racers. There is a standard feature of weapons to use during the race. This is obviously canon in the Mario Kart series and adds to the fun and chaos. You have your red and green shells, your banana peels, your star for invincibility, and your rocket, which you get only if you're lagging in the last positions in the race, to give you a helping hand. I have to say though, I don't think it really works as well, especially if you're racing in 150cc. Mario Kart Wii is a fun racing game to play, and it was designed specifically for the Wii wheel, which comes bundled with the game. So, you do need it to experience Mario Kart Wii in its best form. The Wii came out around 2006, and it is now the year 2024. The Nintendowii rarely comes out in my household, and when it does, only 3 games really get played: Wii Play, Wii Sports, and Mario Kart Wii. The gimmick of using the Wii wheel is definitely a big appeal and helps enjoy the experience as a whole. But the novelty of the Wii wore off years ago, and with the Switch now out with Mario Kart 8, there is no real reason to go to this version. But as I do not as yet own a Switch, I do tend to pick up the Wii version and play every once in a while. When I eventually do own a Switch, I'd say it's very likely that the Wii version will hardly get played, if ever. Especially as Mario Kart 8 has pretty much all the features of Mario Kart Wii, but without the Wii wheel. I guess it is my way of saying that Mario Kart Wii is great fun to play, especially with other human players in person or online. But the novelty does and will wear off, and then it's back to your regular PlayStation or Xbox game consoles. Not a great deal to say about Mario Kart Wii any further than what I've already stated, so I'm going to end on this note. It's a lovely game to play, especially if it's every once in a while. There are no extensive learning curves here, just more of the same old repetition which you can get better at with a lot of practice. The use of the Wii wheel adds to the fun. It's best if you don't play it all the time, as it can get boring and repetitive after a while. Staggering the amount of game time you spend on it helps with some longevity. But overall, and I've used this a million times already, but here it goes. It's a fun and entertaining racing game. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and if you want to see more, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.